Hurry up already.
Are you sure?
Mm.
All right. Howdy, everybody. Howdy, Lynn. Howdy, Gwen.
Howdy.
Hi,
I'm Jonathan. Okay, I'm not. I'm Jonathan. But
Jonathan.
it rhymes with Lynn and Gwen if I say Jonathan. Okay. So this is where everybody needs to go if they want to read with us, along with us. KingJamesBibleOnline.org, 1611 Bible. Scroll down and click, and then we will be going into read 2nd Esdras / 4th Ezra, chapters 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. That's a lot. It sounds like a lot. The
As long
verses,
as Lynn gets the names.
huh? What?
As long as Lynn gets the names.
Actually, there's not many.
I have heard that before.
All right. Let's go ahead and pray in for everyone that's going to be here.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, thank you very much for this opportunity to study your amazing word. And we ask that you pour out your spirit of knowledge and revelation upon us and everybody that studies this with us. And just make it, give us understanding to correlate it, to bond it with your written and accepted word that has been taken out, that the church has kicked out. And let us know why when we see this. And we thank you for that. And bless everybody that studies this with us. And we thank you for that. In Jesus, Yeshua's name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, here we go. 2nd Esdras, 4th Ezra, chapter 3. In the 30th year after the ruin of the city, I was in Babylon and lay troubled upon my bed. My thoughts came up over my heart, for I saw the desolation of Sion and the wealth of them that dwelt at Babylon. And my spirit was sore moved, so that I began to speak words full of fear to the Most High, and said, O Lord, who bearest rule, thou spakest at the beginning, when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone and commandedst the people, and gavest a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hands, and didst breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made living before thee. And thou leddest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted before ever the earth came forward. And unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed. And immediately thou appointedst death in him and in his generations, of whom came nations, tribes, people, and kindreds out of number. And every people walked after their own will, and did wonderful things before thee, and despised thy commandments. And again, in process of time, thou broughtest the flood upon those that dwelt in the world, and destroyedst them. And it came to pass in every of them, that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these. Nevertheless, one of them whom thou leftest, namely Noah with his household, of whom came all righteous men. And it happened that, when they dwelt upon the earth, began to multiply, and had gotten them many children, and were a great people, and they began again to be more ungodly than the first. Now, when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham. Verse 14. Him thou lovedst, and unto him only thou showedst thy will, and madest an everlasting covenant with him, promising him that thou wouldst never forsake his seed. And unto him thou gavest Isaac, and unto Isaac thou gavest Jacob and Esau. As for Jacob, thou didst choose him to thee, and put by Esau. And so Jacob became a great multitude. And it came to pass that when thou leddest a seed out of Egypt, and thou broughtest them up to Mount Sinai, and bowing the heavens, thou didst set fast the earth, movest the whole world, and madest the depths to tremble, and troublest the men of that age. And thy glory went through 4 gates of fire and of earthquake, and of wind, and of cold, that thou mightest give the law unto the seed of Jacob, and diligence unto the generation of Israel. And yet tookest thou not away from them a wicked heart, that thy law might bring forth fruit in them. For the first Adam, bearing a wicked heart, transgressed, and was overcome. And so be all they that are born of him. Thus infirmity was made permanent in the law, also in the heart of the people, with the malignity of the root, so that the good departed away, and the evil abode still. So the times passed away, and the years were brought to an end. Then didst thou raise thee up a servant, called David, whom thou commandedst to build a city unto thy name, and to offer incense and oblations unto thee therein. When this was done many years, then they that inhabited the city forsook thee, and in all things did even as Adam and all his generations had done, for they also had a wicked heart. Verse 27. And so thou gavest thy city over into the hands of thine enemies. Are their deeds then any better that inhabit Babylon, that they should therefore have dominion over Sion? For when I came thither and had seen the impieties without number, then my soul saw many evildoers in this 30th year, so that my heart failed me. For I have seen how thou sufferest them from sinning, and hast spared wicked doers, and hast destroyed thy people, and hast preserved thine enemies, and hast not signified it. I do not remember how this way may be left. Are they then of Babylon better than they of Sion? Or is there any other people that knoweth thee besides Israel? Or what generation hath so believed thy covenants as Jacob? And yet their reward appeareth not, and their labor hath no fruit. For I have gone here and there through the heathen, and I see that they flow in wealth, and think not upon thy commandments. Weigh thou therefore our wickedness now in the balance, and theirs also that dwell in the world, and so shall thy name nowhere be found but in Israel. Or when was it that they which dwell upon the earth have not sinned in thy sight? Or what people have so kept thy commandments? Thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen.
Chapter 4. Then the angel had been sent to me, whose name was Uriel, answered and said to me, Your understanding has utterly failed regarding this world. And do you think you can comprehend the way of the Most High? Then I said, Yes, my Lord. And he replied to me, I have been sent to show you 3 ways and to put before you 3 problems. If you can solve one of them for me, I also will show you the way you desire to see, and will teach you why the heart is evil. I said, Speak on, my Lord. And he said to me, Go, weigh for me the weight of fire, or measure for me a measure of wind, or call back for me the day that is past. I answered and said, Who of those that have been born can do this, that you ask me concerning these things? And he said to me, If I had asked you how many dwellings are in the heart of the sea, or how many streams are at the source of the deep, or how many streams are above the firmament, or which are the exits of hell, or which are the entrances of paradise, perhaps you had said to me, I never went down into the deep, nor as yet into hell, neither did I ever ascend into heaven. But now I have asked you only about fire and wind and the day, things through which you have passed, and without which you cannot exist. And you have given me no answer about them. And he said to me, You cannot understand the things with which you have grown up. How then can your mind comprehend the way of the Most High? And how can one who is already worn out by the corrupt world understand incorruption? When I heard this, I fell on my face and said to him, It would be better for us not to be here than to come here and live in ungodliness and to suffer and not understand why. He answered me and said, I went into a forest of trees of the plain, and they made a plan and said, Come, let us go and make war against the sea, that it may recede before us, and that we may make for ourselves more forests. And in like manner, the waves of the sea also made a plan and said, Come, let us go up and subdue the forest of the plain, so that there also we may gain more territory for ourselves. But the plan of the forest was in vain, for the fire came and consumed it. Likewise also the plan of the sea, waves of the sea, for the sand stood firm and stopped them. If now you were a judge between them, which would you undertake to justify and which to condemn? Verse 19. I answered and said, each has made a foolish plan, for the land is assigned to the forest, and to the sea assigned a place to carry its waves. He answered me and said, you have judged rightly, but why have you not judged so in your own case? For as the land is assigned to the forest and the sea to its waves, so also those who dwell upon the earth can only understand what is on the earth, and he who is above in the heavens can understand what is above the height of the heavens. Then I answered and said, I beseech you, my Lord, why have I been endowed with the power of understanding? For I did not wish to inquire about the ways above, but about those things which we daily experience, why Israel has been given over to the Gentiles as a reproach, why the people whom you loved has been given over to godless tribes, and the law of our fathers has been made of no effect, and the written covenants no longer exist. 24. And why we pass from the world like locusts, and our life is like a mist, and we are not worthy to obtain mercy. But what will he do for his name by which we are called? It is about these things that I have asked. He answered me and said, if you are alive, you will see, and if you live long enough, you will often marvel, because the age is hastening swiftly to its end. For it will not be able to bring the things that have been promised to the righteous in their appointed times, because this age is full of sadness and infirmities. For the evil about which you asked me has been sown, but the harvest of it has not yet come. If, therefore, that which has been sown is not reaped, and if the place where the evil has been sown does not pass away, the fields where the good has been sown will not come. For a grain of evil seed was sown in Adam's heart from the beginning, and how much ungodliness it has produced until now, and will produce until the time of threshing comes. Consider now for yourself how much fruit of ungodliness a grain of evil seed has sprouted. When heads of grain without number are sown, how great a threshing floor they will fill. Then I answered and said, how long, and when will these things be? Why are our years few and evil? He answered me and said, you do not hasten faster than the Most High, for your haste is for yourself, but the Highest hastens on behalf of many. Did not the souls of the righteous in their chambers ask about these matters, saying, how long are we to remain here, and when will come the harvest of our reward? And Jeremiel, the archangel, answered them and said, when the number of those like yourselves is completed, for he has weighed the age in the balance, and measured the time by measure, and numbered the times by number, and he will not move or rouse them until that measure is fulfilled. Then I answered and said, O sovereign Lord, but all of us also are full of ungodliness, and it is perhaps on account of us that the time of threshing is delayed for the righteous, on account of the sins of those who dwell in the earth. He answered me and said, go and ask a woman who is with child if, when her 9 months have been completed, her womb can keep the child within her any longer. And I said, no, Lord, it cannot. And he said to me, in Hades, the chambers of the souls are like the womb. For just as a woman who is in travail makes haste to escape the pangs of birth, so also do these places hasten to give back those things that were committed to them from the beginning. 43. Then the things that you desire to see will be disclosed to you. I answered and said, if I have found favor in your sight, and if it is possible, and if I am worthy, show me this also, whether more time is to come than has passed, or whether for us the greater part has gone by. For I know what has gone by, but I do not know what is to come. And he said to me, stand at my right side, and I will show you the interpretation of a parable. So I stood and looked, and behold, a flaming furnace passed by before me. And when the flame had gone by, I looked, and behold, the smoke remained. And after this, a cloud full of water passed on before me and poured down a heavy and violent rain. And when the rainstorm had passed, drops remained in the cloud. And he said to me, consider it for yourself. For as the rain is more than the drops, and the fire is greater than the smoke, so the quantity that passed was far greater, but drops and smoke remained. Then I prayed and said, do you think that I shall live until those days, or will I be alive in those days? He answered me and said, concerning the signs about which you asked me, I can tell you in part, but I was not sent to tell you concerning your life, for I do not know.
Holy granola bars. Okay. Chapter 5. Nevertheless, as coming the tokens, behold, the day shall come, that they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. But iniquity shall be increased above that which now seeth, or thou hast heard it long ago. The land that thou seest now to have root shalt thou see wasted suddenly. But if the Most High grant thee to live, thou shalt see after the third trumpet that the sun shall suddenly shine again in the night, and the moon thrice in a day. The blood shall drop out of the wood, and the stone shall give his voice, and the people shall be troubled. And even he shall rule, whom they look not for that dwelling upon the earth. And the fowl shall take their flight away together. And the Sodomitish sea shall cast out fish, and make a noise in the night, which many have not known, but they shall all hear the voice thereof. Therefore there shall be a confusion also in many places, and the fire shall be oft set out again, and the wild beasts shall change their places, and menstruous woman shall bring forth monsters. The salt waters shall be found in the sweet, and all their friends shall destroy one another. Then shall wit hide itself, and understanding withdraw itself into his secret chamber, and shall be sought of many, and yet not be found. Then shall unrighteousness and inconsistency be multiplied upon the earth. One land shall also ask another, and say, is righteousness that maketh a man righteous gone through thee? And it shall say, no. At the same time shall men hope, but nothing obtain. They shall labor, but their way shall not prosper. They show thee such tokens I have leave. And if thou wilt pray again, and weep as now, and fast even days, thou shalt hear yet greater things. Then I awakened, and an extreme fearlessness went through all my body, and my mind was troubled, so that it fainted. So the angel that was come to talk to me held me, comforted me, and set me upon my feet. And in the second night it came to pass that Salathiel, the captain of the people, came unto me, saying, where hast thou been, and why is thy countenance so heavy? Knowest thou not that Israel is committed unto thee in the land of their captivity? Up then, eat bread, forsake us not, as the shepherd that leaveth his flock in the hands of cruel wolves. Then I said to him, go thy way from me, and come not nigh to me. And he heard what I said, and went from me. And so I fasted 7 days, mourning, weeping, like as Uriel the angel, commanded me. And after 7 days, so it was, that the thought of my heart were very grievous unto me, and my soul recovered the spirit of understanding. And I began to talk with the Most High again, and said, O Lord, that bearest rule of every wood of earth and all the trees thereof, thou hast chosen thee one only vine. And all the lands of the whole world thou hast chosen thee one pit, and of all the flowers thereof one lily, And of all the depths of the sea, thou hast filled thee one river, and of all the builded cities, thou hast hallowed Zion unto thyself. And of all the fowls that are created, thou hast named thee one dove, and of all the cattle that are made, hast thou provided thee one sheep. And among all the multitudes of people, thou hast gotten thee one people. And unto this people whom thou lovest, thou gavest the law that is approved of all. Excuse me, sorry. Verse 28. And now, O Lord, why hast thou given this one people over unto many, and upon the one root hast thou prepared others? And why hast thou scattered thy only one people among many? And they which did gainsay thy promises, and believe not thy covenants, and trodden them down. If thou didst so much hate thy people, yet shouldest thou punish them with thine own hands? Thou, when I had spoken these words, the angel that came to me that night afore was said unto me, and he said unto me, Hear me, I will instruct thee. Hearken to the thing that I say, and I shall tell thee more. And I said, Speak on, my Lord. Then said he unto me, Thou art sore and troubled in mind for Israel's sake. Lovest thou that people better than he that made them? And I said, No, Lord, but very grieved have I spoken, for my reins pain me every hour, while I labor to comprehend the way of the Most High and seek out the part of his judgment. And he said unto me, Thou canst not. And I said, Wherefore, Lord? Whereunto was I born then? Why was not my mother's womb then my grave, that I might not have been seen the travail of Jacob, and the wearisome toil of the stock of Israel? And he said unto me, Number me the things that are not yet to come. Gather me together the dross that are scattered abroad. Make me the flowers green again that are withered. Open me the places that are closed. Bring me forth the winds that them are shut up. So show me the image of a voice, and then I will declare to thee the thing that thou labored to know. And I said, O Lord, that bearest rule, who may know these things, but he that hath not his dwelling with me. As for me, I am unwise. How may I then speak of things whereof thou asked me? Verse 40. Then said he unto me, Like as thou canst do none of these things that I have spoken of, even so canst thou not find out my judgment, or in the end, the love that I have promised unto my people. I said, Behold, O Lord, yet art thou nigh unto them that reserved till the end? And what shall they do that have been before me, or we that can be now, or they that shall come after us? And he said unto me, I will liken my judgment unto a ring, like as there is no slackness of the last, even so there is no swiftness of the first. Wow. Verse 43. So I answered and said, Couldst thou not make those that have been made, and be now, and that are for to come at once, that thou mightest show thy judgment the sooner? Then answered he me and said, The creature may not hasten above the Maker, neither may the world hold them at once that shall be created therein. And I said, As thou hast said unto thy servant, that thou, which givest life to all, hast given life at once to the creature that thou hast created, and the creature bare it, even so might now also bear them that now be present at once. And he said unto me, Ask the womb of the woman, and say unto her, For if thou bringest forth children, why doest thou not together, but one after another? Pray her, therefore, to bring forth 10 children at once. And I said, She cannot, but must do it by a distance of time. And then said he unto me, Even so I have given the womb of the earth to those that be sown in it in their times. For like as young children may not bring forth the things that belong to the aged, even so I have disposed the world which I created. And I asked and said, Seeing thou hast not given me the way, I will proceed to speak before thee, or for our mother, for whom thou hast told me that she is young, draweth now nigh unto age. He answered me and said, Ask a woman that beareth children, and she shall tell thee. Say unto her, Wherefore are unto thy womb thou hast now brought forth like those that were before, but less of stature? And she said, verse 53, and she shall answer thee, They that are born in the strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that are born in the time of age, when the womb faileth, are otherwise. Consider thou therefore also how that ye are less of stature than those that were before you. And so are they that come after you less than ye, as the creatures which now begin to be old and have passed over the strength of youth. Then said I, Lord, I beseech thee, if I have found favor in thy sight, show thy servant by whom thou visitest thy creature.
Chapter 6. And he said unto me, In the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightened, or ever the foundations of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys in Sion were hot, and ere the present years were sought out, and or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed, that have gathered faith for a treasure. Then did I consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, when Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question, Esdras, asked thou not. I answered then and said, O Lord that bearest rule, if I have found favor in thy sight, I beseech thee, show thy servant the end of thy tokens, whereof thou showed me the part the last night. So he answered and said unto me, Stand upon thy feet and hear a mighty sounding voice. Verse 14, And it shall be as it were a great motion, but the place where thou standest shall not be moved. And therefore, when it speaketh, be not afraid, for the word is of the end, and the foundation of the earth is understood. And why? Because the speech of these things trembleth and is moved, for it knoweth that the end of these things must be changed. And it happened, that when I had heard it, I stood upon my feet, and hearkened, and behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. And it said, Behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh, and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them, what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness, and when the affliction of Sion shall be fulfilled. And when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then will I show these tokens. The books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together. And the children of a year old shall speak with their voices. The women with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountains shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape, and see my salvation and the end of your world. Verse 26. And the men that are received shall see it, who have not tasted death from their birth, and the heart of the inhabitants shall be changed, and turned into another meaning. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be quenched. As for faith, it shall flourish, corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which hath been so long without fruit, shall be declared. And when he talked with me, behold, I looked little by little upon him before whom I stood. In these words said he unto me, I am come to show thee the time of the night to come. If thou wilt pray yet more, and fast 7 days again, I shall tell thee greater things by day than I have heard. For thy voice is heard before the Most High. For the mighty hath seen the righteous dealing. He hath seen also thy chastity, which thou hast had ever since thy youth. And therefore hath he sent me to show thee all these things, and to say unto thee, Be of good comfort, and fear not. And hasten not with the times that are past to think vain things, that thou mayest not hasten from the latter times. And it came to pass after this, that I wept again, and fasted 7 days in like manner, that I might fulfill the 3 weeks which he told me. And in the 8th night was my heart vexed within me again, and I began to speak before the Most High. For my spirit was greatly set on fire, and my soul was in distress. And I said, O Lord, thou spakest from the beginning of the creation, even the first day, and saidst thus, Let heaven and earth be made, and thy word was a perfect work. Verse 39. And then was the spirit, and darkness and silence were on every side. The sound of man's voice was not yet formed. Then commandedst thou a fair light to come forth of thy treasures, that thy work might appear. Upon the 2nd day thou madest the spirit of the firmament, and commandedst it to part asunder, and to make a division betwixt the waters, that the one part might go up, and the other remain beneath. Upon the 3rd day thou didst command that the waters should be gathered in the 7th part of the earth. 6 parts hast thou dried up, and kept them, to the intent that of these some being planted of God and tilled might serve thee. For as soon as thy word went forth, the work was made. For immediately there was great and innumerable fruit, and many and diverse pleasures for the taste, and flowers of unchangeable color, and odors of wonderful smell. And this was done the 3rd day. Upon the 4th day thou commandedst the sun, that the sun should shine, and the moon give her light, and the stars should be in order, and gavest them a charge to do service unto man that was to be made. Upon the 5th day thou saidst unto the 7th part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls, and fishes. So it came to pass. For the dumb water and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of God, that all people might praise thy wondrous works. Then didst thou ordain 2 living creatures, one thou calledst Enoch, and the other Leviathan, and didst separate the one from the other. For the 7th part, namely, where the water was gathered together, might not hold them both. Verse 51. And unto Enoch thou gavest 1 part, which was dried up the 3rd day, that he should dwell in the same part, wherein are 1,000 hills. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the 7th part, namely the moist, and hast kept him to be devoured, of whom thou wilt and when. Upon the 6th day thou gavest commandment unto the earth, that before thee it should bring forth beasts, cattle, and creeping things. And after these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures. Of him come we all, and the people also of whom thou hast chosen. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, and have begun to be lords over us, and to devour us. But we thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thy only begotten, and thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure?
Chapter 7. When I had finished speaking these words, the angel who had been sent to me on the former night was sent to me again. And he said to me, Rise, Ezra, and listen to the words that I have come to speak to you. I said, Speak, my Lord. And he said to me, There is a sea set in a wide expanse, so that it is broad and vast, but it has an entrance set in a narrow place, so that it is like a river. If anyone then wishes to reach the sea, to look at it or to navigate it, how can he come to the broad part unless he pass through the narrow part? Another example, there is a city built and set on a plain, and it is full of all good things. But the entrance to it is narrow and set in a precipitous place, so that there is a fire on the right hand and deep water on the left. And there is only one path lying between them, that is, between the fire and the water, so that only one man can walk upon that path. If now that city was given to a man for an inheritance, how will the heir receive his inheritance unless he passes through the danger set before him? I said, He cannot, Lord. And he said to me, So also is Israel's portion. For I made the world for their sake, and when Adam transgressed my statutes, what had been made was judged. And so the entrances of this world were made narrow and sorrowful and toilsome. They are few and evil, full of dangers and involved in great hardships. But the entrances of the greater world are broad and safe and really yield the fruit of immortality. Yield the fruit of immortality. 14. Therefore, unless the living pass through the difficult and vain experiences, they can never receive those things that have been reserved for them. But now, why are you disturbed, seeing that you are to perish? And why are you moved, seeing that you are mortal? And why have you not considered in your mind what is to come rather than what is now present? Then I answered and said, O sovereign Lord, behold, thou hast ordained in thy law that the righteous shall inherit these things, but that the ungodly shall perish. The righteous, therefore, can endure difficult circumstances while hoping for easier ones. But those who have done wickedly have suffered the difficult circumstances and will not see the easier ones. And he said to me, You are not a better judge than God, or wiser than the Most High. Let many perish who are now living, rather than the law of God which is set before them disregarded. For God strictly commanded those who came into the world when they came what they should do to live, and what they should observe to avoid punishment. Nevertheless, they were not obedient and spoke against him. They devised for themselves vain thoughts and proposed to themselves wicked frauds. They even declared that the Most High does not exist, and they ignored his ways. They scorned his law and denied his covenants. They have been unfaithful to his statutes and have not performed his works. Therefore, Ezra, Empty things are for the empty, and full things are for the full. For behold, the time will come when the signs which I have foretold to you will come to pass, that the city which now is not seen shall appear, and the land which now is hidden shall be disclosed. Every one who has been delivered from the evils that I have foretold shall see my wonders. 28. For my son, the Messiah, shall be revealed with those who are with him, and those who remain shall rejoice 400 years. And after these years, my son, the Messiah, shall die, and all who draw human breath. And the world shall be turned back to primeval silence for 7 days, as it was at the first beginning, so that no one shall be left. And after 7 days, the world, which is not yet awake, shall be roused, and that which is corruptible shall perish. And the earth shall give up those who are asleep in it, and the dust those who dwell silently in it, and the chambers shall give up the souls which have been committed to them. And the Most High shall be revealed upon the seat of judgment, and compassion shall pass away, and patience shall be withdrawn. But only judgment will remain. Truth shall stand, and faithfulness shall grow strong. And recompense shall follow, and the reward shall be manifested. Righteous deeds shall awake, and unrighteous deeds shall not sleep. When the pit of torment shall appear, and opposite shall be the place of rest, and the furnace of hell shall be disclosed, and opposite the paradise of delight. Then the Most High will say to the nations that have been raised from the dead, look now and understand who you have denied, whom you have not served, whose commandments you have despised. Whew. Look on this side and on that. Here are delight and rest, and there are fire and torments. Thus he will speak to them on the day of judgment, a day that has no sun or moon or stars or cloud or thunder or lightning or wind or water or air or darkness or evening or morning or summer or spring or heat or winter or frost or cold or hail or rain or dew. 42. Or night or noon or dawn or shining or brightness or light, but only the splendor of the glory of the Most High, by which all shall see what has been determined for them. For it will last for about a week of years. This is my judgment and its prescribed order, and to you alone have I shown these things. And I answered and said, O sovereign Lord, I said then and I say now, blessed are those who are alive and keep thy commandments. But what of those for whom I prayed? For whom among the living is there that has not sinned? Or who among men has not transgressed thy covenant? And now I see that the world to come will bring delight to few, but torments to many. For an evil heart has grown up in us, which has alienated us from God, and has brought us into corruption and the ways of death, and has shown us the paths of perdition, and removed us far from life. And that not just a few of us, but almost all of us who have been created. 49. He answered me and said, listen to me, Ezra, and I will instruct you and admonish you yet again. For this reason, Excuse me?
Did you turn 2 pages?
No. I'm on 50.
This is like totally different than what I'm reading.
This thing goes on for like 140 verses.
Well, we got 70 verses listed.
Okay, well, it is not the same as what you are looking at.
Chapter 7?
Yeah, chapter 7. That's what I'm reading. So when does it go off the rail?
I was having trouble finding you when you said verse 43.
Okay, 42, or night, or noon, or night, or dawn, or shining, or brightness of light, but only the splendor of the glory of the Most High, by which all shall see what has been determined for them.
Yep.
Okay, and then 43 says, for it will last about a week of years. Is that where it goes off?
No, it was off before that even.
Oh, well, do you want to, I'm so sorry. I apologize for that. Mine is different.
And Gwen doesn't have hers?
I don't
Is that
have
what
my
you're reading
Sephora in
from,
front of me, no.
No, I'm reading out of my Defender Bible. It's the King James, but I don't know what the translation is for my Esdras.
Interesting.
It is interesting. Do you mean stop now and you want to?
Well, what I'll do, after it went off the rails not soon after it said, somewhere along 29.
Oh my goodness.
Let's see here.
Yeah, because it's 29. After these years, my son, the Messiah, shall die, and all who draw human breath. That's weird.
So let me just start at 30, and I'll
There
go
you
ahead
go.
and finish it out.
Okay.
Because since everyone's using, or a bunch of people are using this one.
Okay.
And the world shall be turned into the old silence 7 days, like as in the former judgments, so that no man shall remain. And after 7 days, the world that yet awaketh not shall be raised up, and that shall die is corrupt. And the earth shall restore those that are asleep in her, and so shall the dust those that dwell in silence. And the secret places shall deliver those souls that were committed unto them. And the Most High shall appear upon the seat of judgment, and misery shall pass away, and the long-suffering shall have an end. But judgment only shall remain. Truth shall stand, and faith shall wax strong. And the work shall follow, and the reward shall be showed, and the good deeds shall be of force, and wicked deeds shall bear no rule. Then said I, Abraham prayed first for the Sodomites, and Moses the fathers that sinned in the wilderness, and Jesus after him for Israel in the time of Achan, and Samuel and David for the destruction, and Solomon for them that should come to the sanctuary, and Elias for those that received rain, and for the dead that he might live, and Ezekias for the people in the time of Sennacherib, and many for many. Even so now, seeing corruption is grown and wickedness increased, and the righteous have prayed for the ungodly. Wherefore shall it not be so now also? He answered me and said, This present life is not the end where much glory doth abide. Therefore have they prayed for the weak. Verse 43. But the day of doom shall be the end of this time, and the beginning of the immortality for to come, wherein corruption is past. Intemperance is at an end, infidelity is cut off, righteousness is grown, and truth is sprung up. Then shall no man be able to save him that is destroyed, nor to oppress him that hath gotten the victory. I answered then and said, This is my first and last saying, that it had been better not to have given the earth unto Adam, or else, when it was given to him, to have restrained him from sinning. For what profit is it for men now in this present time to live in heaviness, and after death to look for punishment? O thou Adam, what hast thou done? For though it was thou that sinned, thou art not fallen alone, but we all that come of thee. For what profit is it unto us if there be promised us an immortal time, whereas we have done the works that bring death? And that there is promised an everlasting hope, whereas ourselves, being most wicked, are made vain, and that there are laid up for us dwellings of health and safety, whereas we have lived wickedly, and that the glory of the Most High is kept to defend them which have led a weary life, whereas we have walked in the most wicked ways of all, and that there should be showed a paradise whose fruit endureth forever, wherein is security and medicine, since we shall not enter into it, for we have walked in unpleasant places. 55, and the faces of them which have used abstinence shall shine above the stars, whereas our faces shall be blacker than darkness. For while we lived and committed iniquity, we considered not that we should begin to suffer for it after death. Then answered he me and said, This is the condition of the battle, that which which man is born upon the earth shall fight, that if he be overcome, he shall suffer as thou hast said. But if he get the victory, he shall receive the thing that I say. For this is the life whereof Moses spake unto the people while he lived, saying, Choose thee life, that thou mayest live. Nevertheless, they believed him not, nor yet the prophets after him, no, nor me, which have spoken unto them, that there should not be such heaviness in their destruction, as shall be joy over them that are persuaded to salvation. I answered them and said, I know, Lord, that the Most High is called merciful, in that he hath mercy upon them which are not yet come into the world, and upon those also that turn to his law, and that he is patient and long suffereth those that have sinned as his creatures, and that he is bountiful, for he is ready to give where it needeth, and that he is of great mercy, for he multiplieth more and more mercies to them that are present and that are past, and also to them which are to come. For he shall not multiply his mercies, for the world would not continue with them that inherit therein. And he pardoneth, for if he did not so of his goodness, that they which have committed iniquities might be eased of them, the 10,000th part of men should not remain living. In being judge, if he should not forgive them that are cured with his word, and put out the multitude of contentions, there should be very few left, peradventure an innumerable multitude. Okay, that was weird. You're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
You can.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so there's a bunch of stuff in between, and it does pick up when you got to 55. It lined back up with my verse 125. So I don't know what all that is in the middle. I'm going to have to look into
Very
that.
interesting.
Yeah.
Maybe we can save that and read it later. I'm curious though. Now,
Yeah.
The good speed.
Yeah. Because 108, it's like, and Samuel in the days of Saul, and that's where I finally figured out where it picked back up.
First book.
It's so weird.
Second book. Let's see. What was that?
You know, like, what are you reading?
Well, I was kind of getting captured by what you were saying. I was following, but then all of a sudden I was like, my words were the words on the screen were kind of going blurry, but I was so captured by what you were saying that I wasn't like, I can't find it. I'm just going to wait until my face shows up or something. Because I wanted to focus on what you were saying.
So the good speed, it breaks off starts getting different at verse 36.
36?
Yep, the good speed Apocrypha. And it puts the verse numbers, if you can see this, it starts putting the verse numbers in brackets.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
See, so then it says up to verse 45, and then
Okay.
it goes through that in numbers all these extra ones through 105.
5. Yeah, there it
Yours
is.
sounded like it gave details to the scriptures that were being read. It was like yours almost like gave like a concordance of that scripture, like it filled it out more. That's what it seemed like.
So what was
Yeah,
that?
there's a lot in those verses.
35 to 105. You want to go ahead and read them then?
55
I would say,
Go ahead. Yeah. The what? You're both
Sure.
talking.
Sure.
Let me go back. Okay. So that, since you've got that all ready to go, Lynn.
Okay, so 55. Say to her, you produce gold and silver and brass, and also iron and lead and clay. But silver is more abundant than gold, and brass than silver, and iron than brass, and lead than iron, and clay than lead. Judge, therefore, which things are precious and desirable, those that are abundant or those that are rare. I said, O sovereign Lord, what is plentiful? What is plentiful is of less worth, and what is more rare is more precious. And he answered me and said, weigh within yourself what you have thought. For he who has what is hard to get rejoices more than he who has what is plentiful. So also will be the judgment which I have promised. For I will rejoice over the few who shall be saved, because it is they who have made my glory to prevail now, and through them my name has now been honored. And I will not grieve over the multitude of those who perish, for it is they who are now like a mist, and are familiar to a flame and smoke. They are set on fire and burn hotly and are extinguished. 62. I replied and said, O earth, what have you brought forth? If the mind is made out of the dust, like the other created things. For it would have been better if the dust itself had not been born, so that the mind might not have been made from it. But now the mind grows with us, and therefore we are tormented because we perish and know it. Let the human race lament, but let the beasts of the fields be glad. Let all who have been born lament, but let the four-footed beasts and the flocks rejoice. For it is much better with them than with us, for they do not look for a judgment, nor do they know of any torment or salvation promised to them after death. For what does it profit us that we should be preserved alive but cruelly tormented? For all who have been born are involved in iniquities and are full of sins and burdens with transgressions. And if we were not to come into judgment after death, perhaps it would have been better for us. He answered me and said, when the Most High made the world and Adam and all who have come from him, he first prepared the judgment and the things that pertain to the judgment. And now understand from your own words, for you have said that the mind grows with us. For this reason, therefore, those who dwell on earth shall be tormented, because though they have understanding, they have committed iniquity. And though they received the commandments, they did not keep them. And though they obtained the law, they dealt unfaithfully with what they received. What then will they have to say in the judgment? Or how will they answer in the last times? 74. For how long the time is that the Most High has been patient with those who inhabit the world, but not for their sake, but because of the times which he has foreordained. I answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O Lord, show this also to thy servant, whether after death, as soon as every one of us yields up his soul, and we shall be kept in rest until those times come when thou wilt renew the creation, or whether we shall be tormented at once. He answered and said, I will show you that also, but do not be associated with those who have shown scorn, nor number yourself among those who are tormented. For you have a treasure of works laid up with the Most High, but it will not be shown to you until the last times. Now concerning death, the teaching is, when the decisive decree has gone forth from the Most High that a man shall die, as the spirit leaves the body to return again to him who gave it, first of all, it adores the glory of the Most High. And if it is one of those who has shown scorn and have not kept the way of the Most High, and who has despised his law, and who have hated those who fear God, such spirits shall not enter into habitations, but shall immediately wander about in torment, ever grieving and sad in 7 ways. The first way, because they have scorned the law of the Most High. The second way, because they cannot now make a good repentance that they may live. The third way, that they shall see the reward laid up for those who have trusted the covenants of the Most High. The fourth way, they shall consider the torment laid up for themselves in the last days. The fifth way, they shall see how the habitations of the others are guarded by angels in profound quiet. The sixth way, they shall see how some of them will pass over torments. The seventh way, which is worse than all the ways mentioned, because they shall utterly waste away in confusion and be consumed with shame, and shall wither with fear at seeing the glory of the Most High, before whom they sinned while they were alive, and before whom they are to be judged in the last times. 88. Now this is the order of those who have kept the ways of the Most High, when they shall be separated from their mortal body. During the time that they lived in it, they labored laboriously served the Most High and withstood danger every hour that they might keep the law of the lawgiver perfectly. Therefore, this is the teaching concerning them. First of all, they shall see with great joy the glory of him who receives them, for they shall have rest in 7 orders. The first order, because they have striven with great effort to overcome the evil thought which was formed in them, that it might not lead them astray from life into death. The second order, because they see the perplexity in which the souls of the ungodly wander and the punishment that awaits them. The third order, they see the witness which he who formed them bears concerning them, that while they were kept alive, they kept the law which was given them in trust. The fourth order, they understand the rest which they now enjoy, being gathered into their chambers and guarded by angels in profound quiet, and the glory which awaits them in the last days. The fifth order, they rejoice that they have now escaped what is corruptible and shall inherit what is to come. And besides, they see the straits and toil from which they have been delivered, and the spacious liberty which they are to receive and enjoy in immortality. The sixth order, when it is shown to them how their face is to shine like the sun, and how they are to be made like the light of the stars, being incorruptible from then on. The seventh order, which is greater than all that has been mentioned, because they shall rejoice with boldness, and shall be confident without confusion, and shall be glad without fear. For they hasten to behold the face of him whom they served in life, and from whom they are to receive their reward when glorified. This is the order of the souls of the righteous, as henceforth is announced, and the aforesaid are the ways of torment which those who would not give heed shall suffer thereafter. 100. And I answered and said, will time therefore be given to the souls after they have been separated from the bodies to see what you have described to me? He said to me, they shall have freedom for 7 days, so that during those 7 days they may see the things which you have been told, and afterwards they shall be gathered in their habitations. I answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, show favor to me, thy servant, whether on the day of judgment the righteous will be able to intercede for the ungodly, or to entreat the Most High for them. Fathers for sons, or sons for parents, brothers for brothers, relatives for their kinsmen, or friends for those who are most dear. He answered me and said, since you have found favor in my sight, I will show you this also. The day of judgment is decisive and displays to all the seal of truth. Just as now, a father does not send his son, or a son his father, or a master his servant, or a friend his dearest friend, to be ill or sleep, or eat or be healed in his stead. No one shall ever pray for another on that day, neither shall anyone lay a burden on another, for then everyone shall bear his own righteousness and unrighteousness.
You're muted, John.
That's too bad, because I said, wow, I'm really glad we went back to read that.
Wow. Wow, that
Okay.
answers a lot of questions.
Yes, it does.
7 days.
Yes, it does. So on this one, where yours said great joy,
Ooh.
this said rapture. So I crossed it out and put joy.
Oh.
Anyways,
I have a couple thoughts about that
let's go back
extra
to chapter
stuff.
3. I'm sure you do, but let's start back at chapter 3.
But I don't have notes until later. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so I got a bunch of stuff. So chapter 3, we're told, verse 1, 30 years. This is 30 years after Jerusalem is destroyed. And I found it interesting in verse 3, it says he begins to pray to Yah in full fear.
Yeah.
Oh, you noticed that, huh?
Hang on a second, I'm almost there. But I remember that. I'm not. Yes. Full fear of the Most High.
Yep.
Yeah.
Full fear of the Most High. And then I don't have anything till 7 and 8. That it's talking about Adam. Gave him commandment to love thy way, to love God's way.
Yeah.
And he transgressed it. And then in verse 8, so everybody coming after Adam, every people walked after their own will and did, this got me, they did wonderful things before you, before Yah, before God, but they despised his commandments. So I wish I had a strong concordance for this.
Because wonderful could mean a few things, right?
Could be.
Hang on a second. I gotta talk to my offspring.
Hello, offspring.
Well, mine says in verse 8, you mean?
Yes.
Mine says ungodly things.
Right. And I know wonderful can mean terrible also. Sometimes it's translated as terrible.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
That word.
I agree. It could be.
I don't have anything until 13.
That's what I have.
God chose Abraham. And then nothing till 16. Yah chose Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
18.
There were some really interesting things. Hang on a sec. Is it 18, 19?
19?
I had 19 too.
Oh, wait, 18.
18, yeah. Like the bowing.
And the world was moved. And that's funny. That stuck out to me. The earth is fastened, but the world is moved, which I'm constantly telling people it's God's earth, but Satan's world.
Mm-hmm.
So all the socio-political, economic stuff, I see that as being the devil's. But the green grass and the trees and the waters and everything, I see that as our Father's.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what about 19? Oh, 4 gates.
Yeah. Okay, see, like it collaborates with 18, right? Like, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the bowing of the heavens, which means the bending, right? Like,
Yeah.
right? And then thou didst fasten the earth. Okay, so we know that from other texts about, the 4 corners and the 4 pillars and all of these other things that it refers to. So when it was talking about through the 4 gates, it also reminds me of the 4 winds and
Well, what that reminded me of, when it says the 4 gates, fire, earthquake, wind, and cold, when the prophet Elijah was worried about being killed and he was praying, he said there was an earthquake and then there was a fire and then there was a great wind and then still nothing. But then a small, still voice that spoke to him. Yeah, that's what that reminded me about.
Okay, so then the still small voice could be unto the seed. Like the seed is small, right? And then a small seed. Something great came. Anyway, that's a bit of a stretch, but.
I don't have anything until verse 21.
Bearing a wicked heart.
Transgressed and was overcome, and so be all they that are born from him.
Yeah.
That in Romans, Paul says, for all have sinned.
Yeah.
And fallen short of the glory of God. That it's a second witness to that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, there's multiple witnesses to that, but it's a witness here in reading this. Verse 23, Yah called David, right? Again, it's not David who said, Abraham and Jacob, they didn't all say, I'm going to go out and find God today.
Yeah. It just collaborates with that. It's his ways, not ours. He chooses and picks whom he may do this or that or whatever through. He may call the young to do an old thing. He may call the old to do a young thing.
Right. I don't have anything. I just 31 and 32. I got a interesting. The way he's asking these questions. Right. He's basically saying, he's asking Yah. He's asking our Father. Why you've scattered your people among all these other people? Are they better than your people, or did they follow your commandments better than what we were given? Than we did?
I think his flesh is just kind of crawling right now a little bit. That's what it sounds like to me.
Well, I think he's making the case, though, and the way I summarize it is all peoples have sinned, but Israel, which is now a spiritual Israel, Yah has our Father. We've all done the same transgressions. We all come from Adam. We all still had that evil heart, that will to do wickedness. But there's some who relish that.
Yeah, it goes with the last verse, 36. Thou shalt find that Israel by name hath kept thy precepts, but not the heathen.
Right. And it says precepts. Didn't keep your commandments. We just kept the precept of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Is anything else for 3? I know you're itching to get back to 7, Gwen. I know.
Well, no, you know what? The whole, oh my gosh.
We all want to know what happens after we die. Now we do. It's there the whole time.
Okay, so chapter 4. Now, I wrote this down as Uriel appears again, but it's not exactly what it says. It says the angel that comforted him. And I'm thinking that when he stood upon his feet, that angel was what we call the angel of the Lord, that sometimes people see that as Yeshua. And as we go back through this, I think that is confirmed. Anyways, and then in verses 4 and 5, he gets prepped for kind of a rebuke to his questioning, I think. And then I don't have anything until 20. So if you got anything in there.
I have 7.
Siete, okay.
If I should ask thee how great dwelling in the midst of the sea, or how many springs are in the beginning of the deep, or how many springs are above or how many springs are above the firmament, or what? I just thought it was a lot of the verses that I picked out, because I've never read this book before. I'm just seeing all the different kind of connections to other scriptures that are in the Tanakh, right?
Yep.
So that just like the springs that are above the firmament.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There's springs up there. Anyways, nothing profound yet.
Okay, verse 20, unless you got something before that.
Mm.
But he tells him,
He
He answered me and said, thou hast given a right judgment, but why aren't you judging yourself also?
Mm-hmm.
Man. I'll tell you what, once you turn that around and start to judge yourself, that's a sting.
Oh.
That is uncomfortable.
Well, just reading all of this, it's like you hear what's happening. You hear that the messenger is saying, and how Ezra is like getting the concept of we just don't know. We can't comprehend the intensity and the vastness of Abba and all of that. We have to separate ourselves from the idea of thinking, and it says later on that we can know. There are just some things we cannot comprehend because the water is over here, the woods
Right.
are over here.
Well, I got that in verse 27, right? Cannot comprehend the things that are promised to the righteous in time to come, for this world is full of unrighteousness and infirmities.
And infirm, yes.
Yeah, mine says sadness and infirmities.
Mm-hmm.
And it is. It's very sad.
Yeah.
Well,
I feel myself crying a lot over just the sadness of it all. It's just so, ugh.
Me too, sister.
I
Do
did it.
you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then I'm not the only one that just, like, right now, I could just start crying. I'm holding it back.
I did a summary of the verses 28 through 32, and basically it's saying the evil is sown and it's growing, but it has to grow to the point
Yes.
where it can be destroyed.
Yes. And same with the righteous, like it has both sides, right? Like the righteous has to grow and like they have to grow together, and it refers to it later on, right? It's talking about, anyways, sorry. Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Now I'm curious. What's in that jar that's so thick that you're talking like this and it's not spilling anywhere?
Well, I had to make it so fast.
Go
I
get a
think
spoon.
I put so much romaine lettuce in it. And I didn't put enough liquid. So it's just like I'm trying to get it to like
Okay.
never mind.
Anyways,
Anyway.
I don't have anything until 41.
Oh, why do I have 35? I have 35. Did not the souls also of the righteous ask question of these things in their chambers, saying, how long shall I hope on this fashion when cometh the fruit of the floor of our reward? It's like this, that and 37. But it seems to be touching. I seem to be connecting with it on the things that I've been posturing myself with in front of Abba in the last 6 months. Like why? Like, I don't know who said this. I somewhere in scripture it said it, or I heard it being quoted, or in some text it was like, maybe it was a meme, I don't know. But like, why is it still going on? It's because the righteous are staying, like in this context, that the righteous are staying righteous. So while they're still righteous, there's still hope, and then there's still suffering. So if there was no more righteous, there would be no more suffering. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So this whole context of him pining, like what's the end result? Can we just
Right.
Can we get it done?
He's asking him when, and then in verse 41, when the grave chambers of souls are like the womb of a woman, that's when it's going to be done. When everything has come to full ripe, then it all comes to pass.
This was a great analogy. It really was.
So
40,
then
yeah, 42.
he asks him, he's like, okay, so tell me whether, basically he wants to know where they are on the timeline. Is there more stuff that came before, or is there more stuff that's going to come after?
See, there's no new question.
I know. In that, but then he basically sums it up in verse 50. More time has passed than time is left. And that was thousands of years ago.
So wait, so when was this written?
I don't know, 500, 600, 700 BC? Let's say 500 BC. So we're looking 2,500 years. 2,600 years.
Yeah, and then if you look at the Jewish calendar date, what are they, 57, 70 something or other?
Yeah, I don't trust them, but
Well, I know, but I mean, just as a
no, I know.
as a measurement, because
Right.
we don't have anything else, basically.
And then he asks, will I be around to see this? And he's told by the angel, it's not for me to tell you.
Okay. Can I collaborate? Something with that statement? What's that? Where's that scripture that says that?
That is at the end of chapter 4.
Okay, he answered me and said,
Right? Yep.
I am not sent to show you. Okay.
For I do not know it.
I do not know.
Okay. So, okay, well, I mean, it still leaves that door open because it could, I want to comment on the extra text that Lynn was reading, but this statement.
We're almost there. Relax. Relax. Nobody has.
No, because I have so much more highlighted after this chapter now.
Right. Okay. Chapter 5. Chapter 5. He continues on, and he says in verse 1, truth is hidden, and what is it? Truth.
The land shall be barren of faith.
In the end, yeah, it'll be truth is going to be hidden, and there's going to be no faith. Just constant desperation is the way I'm understanding that.
But the iniquity shall be increased above that which now thou seest, or that thou hast heard long ago. So some people say it was worse back then than it is now. Some people say, right?
Verse 4, after the third trumpet.
Okay.
That just comes out of nowhere.
Yeah,
after the third trumpet.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and right, immediately I'm thinking about the trumps in Revelation.
Well, it appears that those trumpets in Revelation do have, I mean, now it appears to me that there is like, each trumpet is like releasing a period of time. Like, you know what I mean? I wonder if that's, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, okay, thank you.
Okay, let's see.
Wait.
That's Revelation 8:10, and the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters.
Okay, so and then the
poisoned.
The verse says, but if the Most High grant thee to live, thou shalt see after the third trumpet that the sun shall suddenly shine again in the night.
Yep.
And the moon thrice a day. You'll see the moon 3 times a day. So time is going to be out of control.
Okay, so then I don't have anything. Let's see. Yeah, I do. I got a whole bunch. That confusion, verse 8, fire sent often. Right? The fire shall be oft sent out again. And that is, again, prophesied in Revelation, talking about the fire, and Peter talking about fire, and people that are blaming these fires all over earth on men, you're taking away, in my opinion, you're taking away from our Heavenly Father. If he's ordering these fires to start, you're removing him from the equation. These fires are so that mankind repents and turns away from their evil deeds.
A menstruous woman shall bring forth monsters.
And what's up with that?
Yeah, we have monsters yet?
I was reading it this morning.
Yeah, I can think of a few monsters.
Yeah.
Well, do they mean like monsters, like a monster, or like a monster as far as your behavior is monstrous?
I think it means both. But look at if, all the stuff that's disputed now, that women that are exposed to certain chemicals while they're with child, and then the child comes out as violent and angry and, sounds very much like a description of people that have unclean spirits or whatever. Okay. Anyways.
Friends shall destroy one another.
What verse? Oh, yeah. 9.
Verse 9. And shall wit hide itself.
Wit and understanding.
Withdraw itself into his secret chamber.
Which brings us
Oh,
right to verse 10. Incontinent, no self-control. Paul talks about that also. Right? In 1 Corinthians 7, verse 5. Is that right? 1 Corinthians. Yep. Defraud you not one another, except that it be with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your incontinency. And then he also talks about it to Timothy in 2 Timothy 3:3, talking about that. Start at verse 1. This know also that in last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, no self-control, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. From such, turn away.
it's like, when I talk to some people in the past, I don't do this anymore, but the new writings are more intensely aggressive towards behavior than the Tanakh is. Like, I was saying to someone, I said this twice in the last month. Well, maybe I said it to John too. I don't know, that sometimes my flesh, not necessarily the wicked part of my flesh, but because Abba has given us a heart of flesh, right? So it can go both ways, but sometimes when I'm feeling very weak, I don't like reading the new writings. I feel less saved. I feel less safe.
Okay.
I feel less condemned, right? So when I read these things, it's phenomenal. Anyway, it's fine.
Okay, 11 and 13, it's going to get much worse. 11 through 13. In 14, you read, what did you read?
Then I awakened, and an extreme fearlessness went through all my body, and my mind was...
Mine says fearfulness.
Oh, sorry, fearfulness. Yes, fearfulness.
Okay. Just checking.
Yeah, no, it's
Sometimes
good.
I do that.
That's good.
I don't have anything until 2021.
I couldn't keep up with all the things I wanted to highlight.
I know.
Because I was reading and I was trying to, I was overwhelmed trying to just suck it in.
I told you it took me hours to go through this morning.
It's everything, everything he's saying. 18, up then and eat bread and forsake us not.
Tells him, get away from me. Yep.
Yeah.
But he fasts, he mourns, he weeps for a week.
Okay, this is important though. We should stop on that for a second.
Well,
the fasting.
When he starts praying again, and I thought this was knowledge, right? Now he's in the 30th year of the captivity, but he asks, why is Israel scattered? Doesn't he know that? I mean,
See, I think he does. I think this is where I still think he's communicating grief. He's communicating his brokenness. He's communicating his heart, sorrow, sadness. Like, it's, I relate with it in the sense now, like your mind, if you establish it on understanding and you remove your heart from being so squishy about it, you can see clearly, you can see more unbiasedly, right? But when you're in it, you're like, why do we have to go through this? I think there's an element of that in him.
Why me?
Yeah. Why us people? Aren't we? Why are you putting us out there? You know, like, I think it's just his flesh, his heart of flesh, like not the bad part, but just.
So, I don't have anything until 32. And I mean, he makes some real good analogies in there.
Well,
I
wanted to comment on the fasting.
Okay.
I think it's interesting because he I don't know where it says it, but later on it alludes to that he's been asked to fast for 3 weeks.
He says, if you want to know these answers, back in chapter 3, if you want to know these answers, then 3 times you're going to fast for a week.
Right. And so it's interesting. Like at the end, it sounds like at the end of his fasting week, he cries out and talks to Abba. At the end, like, and then it happens, and then he fasts for again. So he goes through a whole period of grieving and mourning and mulling things over, and then at the end of that week, he cries out and speaks to Abba again. But it's an excellent posture that maybe Gwen could take. I don't know. That's how I was reading it.
So in 32, he begins contending with this angel again.
Oh, I'm before that still.
Okay.
Way before that. Like verse 22, or verse 23. Well, I was moved. I don't know what I have to say about it, but it shook me, like there is one earth and one tree of all the trees and one flower of all the lilies, and there's one pit and there's one of all of these things. That was kind of intense. Like, I feel like there's much more in there. Like when he's saying, of all the lands of the whole world, thou hast chosen the one pit, and of all the flowers thereof, one lily.
Right, and that's what his contention is. Out of all these peoples, you chose Jacob.
Right.
You
so Jacob is a
Abraham.
pit. He is a lily. He is a river. He is a city, and he is. What else is he? He is a dove. Like, you know what I mean? Like in description, if I could write it all out and stuff, I thought, holy granola bars, that was intense. So go ahead.
So that just begins this he's contentious. The angel that came to me the night before was sent unto me, said unto me, hear me, and I will instruct thee. Hearken to the thing that I say, and I shall tell thee more. So he says, okay, speak on. And then when he says, you're sore troubled in mind for Israel's sake, do you love that people better than God that made them?
I know. Yeah.
Of course not. I mean, okay.
But he's trying to get his perspective straight, like love your neighbor as yourself, or hate your family and love Abba more. Like, pick Abba over your family. Pick Abba over, like, love him more.
Correct. I agree with that. But and it's a big skip here for me, but 43, he just basically says, can't you just make this judgment come faster? And that is when we start getting into.
Yeah, I said 40. Then he said
Right.
unto me, like as thou canst done none of these things that I have spoken of, even so canst thou not find out my judgment, or in the end of love that I have promised unto my people. Wow. Or in the end, the love that I have promised unto my people.
And mine is saying, so you cannot discover my judgment or the goal of the love that I have promised my people.
The goal of love, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
This reminds me of Job a little bit.
So
Again,
basically, though, he's told, I know you want to go into Job, but people just got off work and we're already at an hour and a half. That I know.
what about the next? Oh my gosh. Like,
But he says in 48, no,
yeah,
you can't just
48.
do this judgment. Time must pass. This judgment has to take time. Now, is that the judgment, or, like we read later, the sorrows and the thorns and the fire and everything associated with that judgment?
In their times,
the fullness of it.
Yeah. Oh, there's like, I have just, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this blew my mind. You had your moment.
No, I haven't. It hasn't even come yet.
This talking about, he says, asking a woman that bears women, or a woman that bears women, a woman that bears children, right? They that be born in the strength of youth are of one fashion, and they that are born in the time of age, when the womb faileth, are otherwise. So that's real interesting. That's a very interesting observation. And medically, we have the world saying, oh, look at all these dangers. Once a woman gets to 35 years old and wants to have children, you have these many dangers. And then when she hits 40, it becomes this much more dangerous. And I just found this interesting. I also found it interesting that Sarah was 90 when she gave birth to Isaac.
Right.
Hardly a child of her youth.
Well, I mean, there's so many more things that play into that. Come on, let's beat him up. No, just kidding. But it is interesting nonetheless.
Yeah, it is. Everything in its own time.
I know, you like that, huh? Okay, let's see. That's just, I don't know, I thought that was amazing. So let's go to chapter 6. And I know we're rushing, but this was so packed full of information.
Because I have so much more in these next 2 chapters. Don't y'all? Don't y'all like have so much more in the next couple chapters?
I've got a lot.
Like, I have a lot in 6, but of course.
I've got almost every verse in.
Like, why should we rush over this? These are important things.
We should do another show.
These are important.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Part 2.
Let's do a part 2 for.
I'm glad you guys thought of that.
For Wednesday.
Yeah. Good idea.
For 4th day?
Maybe other people will come in.
For 4th day?
LDO.
Now I have to commit because I have stuff to say.
Oh, commitment.
It's okay, Gwen. You can do it.
Okay, so let's see here.
Yeah, there's just so many, like.
Yeah. I have a ton in 6. I mean,
Yeah. Like I just started going from this verse to these
Yes.
verses.
And chapter 6 even got its own little place marker.
Yeah, see? And then 400 days? We got to talk about that.
I know.
Like, I was just, oh my goodness. Yeah.
Days or years?
Days. I
But
thought it said days. Oh no, 400 years. 400 years. Sorry. Yes. But then there's like 7 days and then there's 7 days of something. And yeah, 400 years. I mean, I got stuff to say. Questions. Not stuff to say. I have questions. Okay. Johan.
Hey, I'm just making sure everybody can read that. So we're going to redo this in 2 days.
Okay.
From now. We're going to finish out chapter 6 and 7 discussion because it's mind blowing.
wow,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because it really is.
it is.
And the people are shouting at their computer right now. You're ripping me off! Yes, we know that Peter Jackson turned one book into 3 giant, long, boring walking movies. But this isn't boring.
Not at
No.
all.
It's well worth the cliffhanger.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Duh.
Da?
mm-hmm.
Speaking a little bit of Russian.
Russian collusion! Okay. Anyways. Thank you very much, Lynn. Thank you, Gwen. We'll see you in 2 days' time. And if anybody wants to join us for this second part of this discussion,
No, I have.
listen, what's with the bandana? Are you opening up your own line of pancake syrup from Canada? Gwen's maple pancake syrup.
She's out there tapping the trees.
No wonder you found the passage about the trees so endearing. You know,
The
and
woods.
the more I
It's about
think
the
about it,
woods.
I'm sure it's a maple tree that was chosen.
Okay.
Okay, love you all.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.